Yes, absolutely.
Hello.
So, hi, everybody. Stefan speaking. Hi, hi, Shinji.
Hi.
You can hear me, Shinji?
Yes.
Related to
but I have no sound.
Way of chemical elements to exist in very different.
Can you try again, Shinji? You hear me now?
Hi. Yes. Hi.
No, it's fine.
But so your echo, so the backend.
Okay. But now in this room we have your pre-recorded talk.
Yeah.
So it's great to have you inside the talk, and then we will have questions after your talk if there is someone, I think. Okay.
Okay.
So we have just 2 minutes to go. I will prepare the video, and we'll be back soon.
Okay.
Really, what the LibreOffice Conference also shows, we find LibreOffice is already many different shapes and forms. Sometimes you won't even recognize it, but it's included in the product or in the software. Sometimes it's obvious. It's LibreOffice that you install it on your mobile phone, install it on your desktop, install it on your server. So yeah, I like that metaphor. So that's where the name came from.
And by the way, I guess it's not a change that the language is C and the carbon is C as well. They're very similar.
Yeah, I'm sure we can spin a lot of stories around that. So the good thing with those metaphors is that they're quite malleable and
So a small minute to go, and on 15 I will share the video. Enjoy the talk of Shinji.
Thank you. Please, so start.
Hi everyone, this is Cygvin, and today I'm going to talk about how to write your first test for LibreOffice. I hope everyone is...
Sorry. Hello everyone, thank you for attending this presentation. My name is Shinji Enoki from Japan. This session, I will introduce the current status of CJK issues. This talk contains 5 topics. What are CJK issues? Typical LibreOffice CJK functions, CJK bug status, typical CJK issues, LibreOffice committee, and conclusion. I'm Shinji Enoki, member of LibreOffice Japanese team, and membership committee deputies of TDF. My activities mainly organize events and building committees, sometimes QA. I live in Nishinomiya City in Japan. And Japan has 4 large islands, and Nishinomiya City is on the main island. And Nishinomiya City is in the middle, Osaka and Kobe. By the train, 50 minutes to Osaka. By the 50 minutes by the train to Kobe. And so to Kyoto, maybe about 1 hour by the train. Okay. What's the CJK issues? CJK is an abbreviation for Chinese, Japanese, Korean. Chinese, Japanese, Korean are different language and different culture, but they have some common features. Multiple character and vertical writing or other. And so, for example, about CJK characters, Japanese character has 3 types: kanji, hiragana, katakana. And Chinese is simplified Chinese characters, or Taiwan traditional Chinese characters. And Korean Hangul characters. I hear a little case using Hanja Chinese characters. And this is so meaning I will join the LibreOffice Conference. 私は LibreOffice Conference に参加します。And this and this is a kanji. And this and this and this. Hiragana. And this is a katakana. So 3 types of mixing. This is Japanese character, Japanese culture. And Chinese is not a mixing, so only Chinese characters. And so this character and this character may be same, and the meaning is same, but sounds is different. And the other kanji is different. And this character maybe using Japanese, but so meaning is different. And this is also Hangul. But sorry, it may be wrong because it is machine translation. So Korean, Hangul, and Chinese, I use the machine translation. Okay. What are CJK issues? So LibreOffice has many language specifics, so features and issues. CJK issues is one of them. CJK issues happen when used in CJK's environment. And this is the next decade manifest. It contains the 4 hour values. Please checking second hour values. To support the preservation of mother tongue, I think this is very important point. And this is so LibreOffice and TDF, so strong point. But so we CJK users need to report reproduce CJK bugs because it is hard to not understand CJK bug unless it is a people of CJK. Many LibreOffice developers are not CJK people. Typical LibreOffice CJK functions. So text layout, so including vertical writing, so phonetic guide, line composition, and so multi-byte character, input method, calendar, etc. So many. And this time, I introduced the text grid function. So this is a 20 character by 20 character format. And vertical writing mode. This format very famous in Japan. It's calling 原稿用紙. So easy to understand volume and number of characters. Professional and amateur writers use 原稿用紙 when writing on real paper. And number of characters can be seen with word count function. But some people like this style in digital. And you can setting the text grid, writer menu, format page style, and choose text grid tab, and grid line and characters. And you can changing the this what is what is. And this is left to right mode. Text grid not only vertical. And little different, little difficult point. And this and this and this three setting. So one setting changing depend the another values. Changing one after other values. A little difficult. And this case, this time, for vertical writing, I could not be set 20 by 20. I don't know reason. But very, very difficult. I think maybe it's a bug. So I use the website template. More CJK function, please check last year's my slide. And the reference W3C requirements document, Japanese, Chinese, and Hangul, 3 documents. Each document are maintained. J document is discussed on GitHub issues. The CJK bug status. This is a CJK meta issue. So many tracking depends on now. This number of maybe 1 week ago, number 222 and 78 open. And close is 144. But some case issue have not been tracked by meta issue yet. And another CJK meta issue. This is a general CJK meta issue. And this is a part of the CJK issue. Asian phonetic guide meta issue. And text grid meta issue. Vertical writing and rotate text meta issue. you can check so each meta issue. Okay. You can see JK issues. And this is a character not displayed depending on the character size. Grid line only mode. This is line only. And so this case is libertarian self. 43 point. No problem. But 44 point. Not displayed. 52 point not displayed, but 53 point no problem. Not fixed. And Asian phonetic guide for Japanese document. So problem. This case is also base text. Some base text and delete a part of the base text and press apply, and it became an incorrect strings. It's not fixed. And calc vertical writing problems. So vertically and Asian layout mode. And this is no problem. But for printing, character is rotated. PDF export not rotated, only printing rotated. And there seems to be a similar problems with vertical writing in Writer. I hear the 2 days ago, so I watching the Twitter and Writer saw problem. And this case is also vertical writing and Japanese and alphabet or mixing case. Not mixing, no problem. But so insert A, and so this character position is moving. This is wrong position. And this is wrong position. And other case is so insert A, and this character rotated. And this character so wrong position. Wrong position and rotated. Program. So this is same rotated and web dash and rotated. And 3.reader or 2.reader is changing the shape or and rotated. Not fixed. So I will go to demo. This is 7.2.1 and page style, text grid, and text line only. Okay. And this is 30 point and 60 point. It's problem. Okay, 30 point, no problem. 40 point, oh, it's problem. And not, and libertarian self case 43 point. No problem. And 44 problem. It's problem. 43. Oh my god. 44. And 52. 53. No problem. Depends on font size. And this issue is not only CJK, but Libertarian or English text font is also very biggest size problem. But so CJK font very regular size appears problem. CJK users very biggest problem. This is so format Asian phonetic guide. Okay. And automatically so separate, but it's not good because this is kanji, hiragana, kanji and hiragana mixing, and I want to the moving the this and this. Okay, I will moving art and apply. Oh, it's changing and paste, apply. It's wrong. Okay. This is a correct line. And this is wrong. This position is correct. But this position is wrong. Insert alphabet. Moving the position. Please checking this. It's wrong. Wrong. And another point. Wrong. But this is no problem. Okay. It's problem. And space or 1, 2, 3, no problem. Alphabet problem. And this and rotate. And changing problems. Okay, so go back to slide. And change and add some setting and date for Japanese users. Nogata-san try to improve usability. This is not a bug, but so CJK issues. And at a traditional Japanese month name, usually we Japanese is using so 1月, 2月, but so some case using so traditional name and adding to the Karukuzu sort list 7.2 Northern. And so other case is Karukusel format and Western year and Japanese year, Japanese calendar year. So mixing format, adding the format. 7.2, and added label and business card. And this is also business card and so label paper in Japan. So many. And Yuasa-san, so check and organize data. And No-san, so create a patch. So very all the time. So Kamadaki-san organize, research the data. And this time using the Yohashi-san. And so last year, I introduced the issue. Let's see after that. This is a Ruby including the program ODS export by Excel with Asian phonetic guide. This program is so not to display the base text. It's a big problem. Of course, Calc does not support the Asian phonetic guide, but base text is not to display the very program. And this is fixed now by Makham. And this is also Skia rendering case. And vertical writing and font, change font width, font size. But Skia case, Warong. Now, so 7.2 fix Makham and Lubos create a patch. And this is also 3-point reader, not working vertical writing. But now it's working, no problems. On Skia. Okay. And Japanese committee. So Japanese committee, so contributors seems to have been tired. They may also be a pandemic effect. Maybe. And currently, Japanese team active member has decreased. Only 2 people attend the regular meeting, Meguro-san and me. Of course, Japanese team is only part of the Japanese committee. And contributors, such as bug reporters, can be seen from casual contributors. I want to follow the casual contributors because some of them will be the next active contributors. And I sometimes support bug report and bug triage or in online hackfest. However, the number of chances is still small because so online hackfest, so newcomer is very small. I'm looking for a way to reach potential contributors. Okay. And conclusion. Many CJK functions are implemented in LibreOffice. It's a very nice. The CJK function is often broken. Of course, mostly okay. So I will to organize CJK issues and follow-up casual Japanese, and CJK contributors. And finish. Thank you. Thank you for attending.
So thank you very much to Shinji for this talk. Very interesting. Unfortunately, we have not a lot of time for questions. So I would propose to give your questions directly to Shinji via our IRC email or Telegram channels. That would be the best, because starting now with some question, we will overrun the time. So I'm very, I apologize for this, Shinji, but thanks very much for this great talk. And we will go on soon for the next speaker. Thanks a lot, Shinji, for your contribution. It's a great pleasure. Thanks you.
Thank you.
So we have really less time to have the next speaker, Hossein Nourikha, in this room. Are you available? Are you around, Hossein?
Yes. Hello.
Hello, Hossein. Welcome to this room.
Thank you.
I'll prepare the video in some seconds to get this video loaded and shared with everyone in the room. Thanks for being there.
It's a 90 minutes talk, but I think 10 minutes in the end can be available for questions and answers.
Sorry, didn't get it. It's a 19 minutes talk?
Yeah, but it's actually 18 minutes with 10 minutes for questions and answers.
Okay. So we'll try to get the right video now. And share it now. Okay. Enjoy the video and the talk of Hossein Nourikha.
Getting started with LibreOffice development. I am Hossein Nourikha, the developer community architect for the Document Foundation and TDF. So these are the list of contents I will talk about, and after a short self-introduction, I will talk about learning sources, and we will have a short demo. Then we will talk about setting up development environment and compiling the code in demo 2. And after that, we will talk about short things that you can do called easy hacks. Then we will talk about review process, and in the end, I will provide you some path to growth in development. So I am a PhD in information technology. I'm a developer community architect for the Document Foundation, and I'm a developer, university lecturer, and FOSS advocate. If you had any problems getting started with LibreOffice development, you can contact me. My email is hossein@libreoffice.org, and you can find me on IRC hossein@libreoffice.dev in LibreChat. So let's talk about learning process. How do someone can learn to develop LibreOffice? The answer is like coding. If you want to learn LibreOffice coding, you should start development as soon as possible. So one can contribute to LibreOffice without code, but I'm here focused on coding. So you should know at least one programming language. There are a lot of languages that can be used, and these are the list of languages that are actually used in LibreOffice code. C, C++, Java, Bash, JavaScript, Python, Perl, SQL, and XML are some of these. And to know LibreOffice better, you can refer to some of the learning materials that I will provide you in this presentation. So learning materials are not inside one document that you can read, but there are many sources that you should use in order to better understand LibreOffice. So as I've said, the best way to learn coding is actually to code. So you should start from easiest stuff first, that we call easy hacks. And the path to understand better the code is to search, to read, to ask other developers, and to code. These are some of the learning sources, from the LibreOffice website to the Git repository of code for LibreOffice core, to IRC, mailing list, wiki, docs, blog, the presentation from conference, and some articles and books. So let's first look at the LibreOffice website. In LibreOffice website, you can download LibreOffice. You can download LibreOffice SDK, which I suggest you should download both of these, and you will find a lot of information. Also, you can refer to documentfoundation.org, the entity behind LibreOffice. So this can help you better understand LibreOffice. So before you can actually start coding LibreOffice, it is suggested that you actually work with LibreOffice and use it to edit your documents, to get yourself familiarized with LibreOffice. And this is something very helpful before you get into actual coding. Then the code. You can find the code on git.libreoffice.org, but there is something called opengrok.libreoffice.org that helps you to search inside the code. You can do full text search. You can search for some definition of some classes and functions. You can find symbols, and you can read the code with a great coloring and style here in OpenGrok. And then IRC. IRC is the best way to connect to other developers. There are a lot of experienced developers here that are willing to help you develop LibreOffice. So if you're joining IRC, it's better to create an account, pick a good name, and ask directly inside LibreOffice dev room. And please make sure you stay here for a while, for example 60 minutes, in order to get answer from these developers and others who work on LibreOffice. You can get answers better if you ask your question inside the EU working hours. So this is a good place to ask questions. That's developers mailing list. So if you have a question that probably cannot be answered in IRC, and it needs some more details and some more investigation and stuff like that, it's good to use developer mailing list. So you can ask questions here, and this mailing list is actually hosted on freedesktop.org, so you can become a member of this mailing list and ask your questions and read others' answers. Then Wiki. Wiki is a good place that you can find a lot of information about development. So if you go to development section of the Document Foundation Wiki, you can find a lot of documents on how to build LibreOffice, how to find suitable things that you can work on, and possible ideas, and a lot of good stuff here. So make sure that you refer to Wiki. and the docs. If you go to docs.libreoffice.org, you will find the list of LibreOffice modules, and if you click on any of them, you will find good information about it. Then the blogs. So we have blog.documentfoundation.org, which is the main blog for LibreOffice. You can find a lot of information, not necessarily about development, but a lot of development posts can be found there. Also, we are starting a new blog for development related stuff only, and it will be hosted on dev.blog.documentfoundation.org, but it is not started yet, so it will start very soon. If you go to the LibOcon page on conference.libreoffice.org, you will find a lot of presentations about different things, and this can be also a good source of information for you to understand LibreOffice better. And let's see these things in action. The first website that I want to talk about is the LibreOffice website. It is located at libreoffice.org. I can download LibreOffice from here. I can select different formats, and I can download LibreOffice SDK and also the source code from here. I suggest that you don't download source code from here, but use the latest Git version, because in order to get involved in development, you need the latest sources. There are a lot of more information inside LibreOffice.org about how to join those people who are working on LibreOffice. You can find out more about LibreOffice here, and you can donate to LibreOffice. The next website is the documentfoundation.org. It's about Document Foundation, the non-profit organization that is behind LibreOffice, and you can find a lot of useful information here. When you found enough about LibreOffice and you want to work in code, you can use OpenGrok, and also you can use git.libreoffice.org. If you go to this website, you can see a lot of projects here, but what we are interested in is the core, which is the LibreOffice main development code repository. As you can see, you can get the sources by invoking git clone, then the address. So these are the latest commits on LibreOffice core, and this is an introduction on LibreOffice core and the things that you need in order to build LibreOffice, and also some of the main modules. So then we can talk about OpenGrok. OpenGrok is something that is very useful when you want to search inside the code. These days, a lot of IDEs provide such utilities, but this is also very useful if you want to look at the symbols and other stuff. So first you select the project. We usually select core, and it is pre-selected here. Consider that I'm looking for OU string buffer and OU string buffer. So I'm searching for this symbol, and the result are a lot of OU string buffers. But what if I want to search for the definition? I put the OU string buffer inside definitions, and when I search, I only find 4 results, and the first one is something that I wanted. If I activate the navigate window, I see that there are a lot of macros, classes, one class, and some namespaces, and a lot of functions and stuff like that inside this header file. And when I click OUString buffer, I actually see the OUString buffer class here. And as you can see, everything, almost everything is hyperlinked here. So for example, if I click on cell 1 unused, I will be directed to some file that contains the definition of this macro. So I click on line 487 from 484. It actually contains the definition of this macro. So as you can see, it is a helpful tool in order to browse the code. Then we will talk about IRC. So web.libre.chat is a web interface to LibreChat, and I want to go to LibreOffice Dev channel, and my nickname will be guest 8, but it's better to pick a good name and register your name. So you can see a lot of people are here, and many of them are developers, and they can help you if you have any problems. So it's a good idea that if you want to ask, you ask directly and don't waste time asking question. Directly ask your question and wait until you get your answer. It is suggested you at least remain for 60 minutes in order to get good answers. And also you should try to ask questions in a smart way in order to get good answers. So people here are will usually try to help you, but there are some situations that you want to ask some more complex questions that need, for example, more information. And in order to ask such questions, you can go to list.freedesktop.org and subscribe in LibreOffice development mailing list. So you just add your email address here, and you click subscribe after you prove that you're not a robot. Then we talk about LibreOffice Wiki. So the Document Foundations Wiki, which talks about mostly LibreOffice, contains a development section that we are interested in. So there's a Getting Started with Development section, contains a lot of useful links for you. You should take a look at Get Involved article. It contains a lot of useful information that we talk about some of them, but make sure that you take a look. Also, there's a General Program Guidelines section that contains a lot of good information about building LibreOffice, for example, on Linux and BSD systems, and Mac OS and Windows, etc. So please make sure that you take a look on Wiki. Then there is the docs.libreoffice.org, which essentially contains documentation about LibreOffice modules. I was looking at documentation of Visual Class Library, or VCL, and you can find a lot of good information about this module here, any other module you want. Then the blog.documentfoundation.org is somewhere that you can find a lot of good information about things that are happening around LibreOffice, and you can see the link to TDF Planet, the aggregator that aggregates posts from people who work on LibreOffice. Because this weblog is not directly related to development, we have tried to create a separate weblog for development at dev.blog.documentfoundation.org. It is not activated yet, but in the recent future, we will activate this blog and hopefully post a lot of useful information there. And at last, the LibreOffice Conference website, which contains information about the current LibreOffice Conference 2021 and also the previous conferences. For example, I go to the 2019 conference, I go to the program schedule, I go to one of these days, for example, September 12th, and I open one of these presentations, for example, LibreOffice as an iOS app on the iPad. So you can find a lot of information by looking at these presentations. They are very helpful. I hope that you have a better understanding of some of the sources of information about LibreOffice. Setting up a development environment. So you can do this either manually or using distro tools, and also you can use an automated tool called LODE. So if you're not using LODE, you have to install dependencies either manually or through distribution tools, mostly in Linux. So you have to install several libraries and tools, and some of them are installed using make, and the Makefile actually knows what to download and install. But not every dependency can be installed in this way. So there are other dependencies that you have to install manually or using distro tools. So if you are in Windows, you should use Cygvin to install those dependencies. If you're Ubuntu, you can use apt. If you are an ArchEL or CentOS, you use DNF or Yum, and on Arch and OpenSUSE, Pacman and Zypper can be used. If you're using LODE, then you're using an automated tool for LibreOffice that actually downloads, builds, and installs all the prerequisites. So it is something very useful that is suggested for Windows and Mac OS, and also on some older versions of Linux. You should note that you can use, and you should use, distribution tools for newer versions of Linux, like latest versions of Ubuntu or ArchEL or CentOS. And also, if you're on Windows, you have to install Visual Studio and Windows SDK and JDK yourself. And if you're on older Linux distributions, you have to install some recent compiler, C++ compiler, and JDK yourself, and make it available to the make tool. These are the Windows prerequisites. You need a C++ compiler. Visual Studio 2019 is something that we use these days, but support for Visual Studio 2022 is recently added, but 2019 is suggested. You have to install Java Development Kit greater than or equal to version 11, and it can be either from Oracle, from Microsoft, Red Hat, and others. But you should know that if you are downloading from Oracle, you should create an account. But if you want to download from Microsoft or Red Hat, you don't need such an account. Then you need Cygvin that can be downloaded from cygvin.com, and there are several other dependencies if you're building manually. You should note that there are certain things that you should know when installing these prerequisites. For example, if you are installing Visual Studio, you have to activate and install certain components, certain individual components. So you should take a look at building LibreOffice on Windows and Wiki, and make sure that you are actually following the needed steps. For Linux, the C++ compiler G++ is used. You need also the Java Development Kit JDK greater than or equal 11, and there are dependencies that can be installed easily using the distribution tools. For example, on Ubuntu, you simply say apt-get build dep LibreOffice, and everything is simply installed. And also are on RHEL based distributions, you just say dnf build dep LibreOffice, and that's it. A lot of packages will be installed, and then you can build LibreOffice. So the recommended way to install dependencies is to use distro tools for most of them. And on Mac OS X, you should have Xcode from App Store, and also JDK greater than or equal version 11. And the recommended way to install dependencies is using LODE. You should note that the current Xcode and the current Mac OS X can usually build LibreOffice, so it is suggested that you should use current Xcode and current Mac OS X version. So let's talk about the actual compilation. The general compile instructions can be seen here. First of all, you should install the prerequisites as described in previous slides. Then you should get the source code, git clone, and the address of the source code. Please note that there are a lot of projects inside git.libreoffice.org, but we are interested in LibreOffice Core, which is the main application and libraries that are used to build LibreOffice itself. Then you should do configuration /autogen.h, and please note that it's a good idea to put all the options that you want to use with Autogen in autogen.input. We will talk about this later. Then you invoke make, and then you will have soffice or soffice.exe depending on the operating system of yours. If you're on, for example, Linux, you should look into instdir/program, and you will find soffice, and also on Windows you will find soffice.exe in instdir/program. This is a sample autogen.input. As I've said, you should put compile options inside autogen.input. As you can see here, I've set the JDK home for JDK 11 here. I've enabled Python and configured it to fully internal, so a complete Python interpreter will be built. And I've enabled several debug options, dbgutil, ld equals gold, and gdb index. And also I have enabled online update, and then I have to set a privacy policy URL. But because I'm working on a test build, I don't provide any URL, so I just say no underline URL or something like this. So if at this stage you're able to build LibreOffice, then you can use IDE of your choice. Several integrated development environment can be used with LibreOffice code. For example, Visual Studio Code is something that you don't need anything. You just open the project, and then everything can be visible inside Visual Studio Code, and you can use the CC++ development plugin or application inside Visual Studio Code that provide you a lot of options to work with CC++ code. Then you can use Microsoft Visual Studio, you can use Qt Creator, Kdevelop, Vim, or Xcode, and as you can see, you should invoke make with appropriate option. For example, if you want to use Qt Creator, you invoke make Qt Creator -id -integration, and then a project file is created. And when you open that project file inside Qt Creator, you will see all the files and symbols and stuff like that, and it helps you develop inside this ID, and the same for other IDs. Let's see a demo. I want to build LibreOffice in Ubuntu Linux. This is the latest LTS version of Ubuntu Linux, the 20.04 version LTS. First of all, I should make sure that I have all the dependencies. So I invoke sudo apt-get build dep LibreOffice, and there are some packages that I need that are installed. This is because I have installed all the prerequisites before, and I only need to install 10 megabytes of data, 10 megabytes of packages, but you may have to install a lot more if you are building this for the first time. So after the download and install is complete, you can start configuring and doing make and stuff like that to actually build LibreOffice. You should do this in other ways if you're using other distributions. For example, if you are using RHEL or CentOS or Almari Linux, or things like that, you should use DNF, for example. I'm focused on Ubuntu right now. After that, I should do git clone, and then I will provide the git address of the LibreOffice repository. So this is this takes a while in order to clone the LibreOffice source code. So I will pause the video, and after this is finished, I will continue. So the next step would be configuring. So first I should have a good Autogen input in place. I have one with several options that you see. I have talked about some of these options, but you can see a lot of other options here. For example, Qt5, KF5, and a lot of stuff here that you can find out more in LibreOffice Wiki. I won't talk about them more in this video. So if I invoke ./autogen.h, first of all, I should go to inside the core folder, and after that I will see the actual autogen.input, which contains a lot of options. For example, I've disabled GTK4 here by commenting this out, and several options that You can find more in the wiki, and I will not talk about them here. So if I invoke ./autogen.sh, the actual configuration script will execute, and after a while you will see the answer for different things, and this is it. If you want to make, you can invoke make /usr/bin/make, or simply make. If you want to get help, you invoke make help, and if you want to do some tests, you invoke make check. In order to run the application after the successful build, you should invoke instdir/program/soffice. So I invoke make. It usually takes a lot of time to be able to build LibreOffice, and as a rule of thumb, you should divide 8 hours by the number of cores you have, but this is somehow rough estimate. So I invoke make, and as you can see, the compilation process starts. And because I have done the build before, possibly it takes a short time because I have done the build before. And also I'm using a trick to increase the speed of compilation, and I want to be able to build LibreOffice within minutes and not hours, if not days. I use Zcash, and as you can see, it takes a lot of space from my hard disk. It's around 44 gigabytes, but it can help avoiding duplicate compilation or a recurrent compilation of files. So that's it. So I can run the LibreOffice that I've actually built, ./instdir/program/soffice, and that's it. And these are the examples I was working on. And as you can see, I'm using X11 as the UI renderer. You may use, for example, GTK, and this can be changed by changing a environment variable. So that's it. And I can also open the source code inside development environment, integrated development environment like Qt Creator. So if I want to do that, I should invoke make Qt Creator ID integration. It takes a while, and it creates the project file usable in Qt Creator, and I can open the project file, which is named lo.pro. There are other IDEs usable for Linux, for example, Visual Studio Code or Eclipse, or for example KDevelop, or even Vim. These are the things that can be used in Linux. So it takes a while. It creates the project file, and you're done. So I invoke Qt Creator, and I've already loaded the project file. So these are the files and folders from the project, you can easily, for example, find some symbols, for example, that OU string buffer that we talked about, and here it is. And as you can see, the same file is found here, and I can go to definition of cell warn unused, and the same thing is happen. I now inside types.h, which is inside include / cell / types.h. So this is very useful, and I can select among different build and run options, and if I press run, I will see the LibreOffice, and if I change something, it may take a while, it compiles, and then the application will be shown. This is much easier from working in command line and working with VIM, and the same thing is visible here because I've not set the UI to X11 here. Now here I see the GTK 3 UI, and that's okay. So this is very useful and can help you develop. Another good option is using Visual Studio Code. So if I open this and I go to File, Open Folder, I can just open the core folder. I've done this before, so I simply open this folder and you see all these files. I can open each file and I can work with several C++ files here. For example, the EMF reader, that's XX, that was something I was working on. Please make sure that you have installed the C++ extension from Microsoft. Okay, so this is the code, and it's a very good IDE, but you need to make sure that you have enough RAM in order to use this. So I can run and debug the application, but first I should set .json. So you should go to the program section. This is an example that I need to fix. Workspace /a.out is not correct. I should set instdir/program /soffice.bin. This is the actual binary file. The soffice is a script that loads this binary. I should set program to the exact binary. I start debugging, and after that I will see that the LibreOffice application comes up, and I can use the debugging tools that are available inside the Visual Studio Code, and that's something very helpful. So this is LibreOffice code, and it is very useful. This is something that can be used in Linux. Let's build LibreOffice in Windows. So you need several things in Windows, and the first one is the Microsoft Visual C++ compiler. So if you go to visualstudio.microsoft.com, you will see several options for downloading Visual Studio. So I've downloaded the Community Edition of 2019, and I've installed it. So this is the Visual Studio installer. If you haven't installed it before, you can use it to install the version you want. So this is the Visual Studio Community 2019, and I've also installed Visual Studio Community 2022 preview. Both of them are free, and with the recent changes on LibreOffice code, Visual Studio 2022 is also usable, but I prefer to stick to 2019 version, as it is tested much more. And if you have installed the default options, you should make sure that the individual components that are needed are installed here. So if we go back to the LibreOffice on Windows, building on Windows on Wiki, and if we go to Visual Studio section, we will see that several components should be checked, and all of them should be installed. These are the individual components that you should have installed. Let's check some of them. For example, Windows Universal C runtime should be installed. Let's check. Yes, we have installed it. If you haven't installed all of these components that you should check one by one, you should tick you should check all of these and then click install and make sure all of these are installed. After you have made sure that all of these are installed, then we will install Cygvin. So you should download the 64-bit version, and if you want to install it, you should go to command line and use this command. Let's see. Yes, this command. It actually invokes the installer with some parameters. So I've installed Cygvin, but I'm going to install it for another time, and it helps if something is not updated, it will get updated. So let's invoke this command inside the downloads folder, and as you will see, the installer comes up. After accepting the default values, you will see that it will show you the list of software that are needed, that you want to install, and those that were selected in via the options will be checked here, and you can also add whatever application you want to install here. So nothing happens here because I have installed before and there is no recent update. If you're doing this for the first time, you will see a lot of things here. So nothing special happens here, and just make sure everything is up to date, and it's finished. So you can close this console, and you should make sure that when you want to clone LODE and the source code, you're not using the Git from Windows, because the end of line is different inside Linux and Windows. So I should find the LODE page inside Wiki, development/LODE, and I should follow the instructions. I'm doing this manually, so I need to clone LODE somewhere that is not a network drive, that its name does not exceed 8 characters, name of the folders, and only use A to Z and 0 to 9, and no spaces and other special characters. So I have also done this before, and then I go to CYG drive, C and users, and then Hossein, which is my username, and documents. When I want to clone, because I have done clone before, it says the destination path already exists. That's fine. So I go inside LODE, I invoke setup --prereq, in which installs prerequisites. Because I have done this before, nothing new happens. And then I should export LOD home, and then I go inside the dev/core folder, and I invoke LODE underline home slash opt/bin/make. If I have I haven't run Autogen, I have to run Autogen before, but because I have executed data/Autogen before, this will work fine. Let's take a look at my Autogen options inside autogen.input. So I've essentially enabled debugging, and I have activated the JDK, and I've disabled some of the options. So as you can see here, I'm using Visual Studio 2022, but if I want to stick to 2019, I should comment this out. And I've also set the parallelism to 1, so because I had problems on this machine, with the virtual machine, I reduced the number of parallel tasks to only 1. So if I invoke dot/autogen.sh, as you can see, the configuration process will start, and everything is checked. And after the configuration script made sure that everything is fine, it will start building, it will help us build LibreOffice. So let it finish. It takes a while, and after that we can build LibreOffice. Okay, everything is checked. This is JDK. There are situations that you encounter problem, and you should carefully check the areas that you've encountered an error in order to find the source of the problem and fix it. So the ANT is checked, the JUnit is checked, all of this are available. And another thing, to make sure that antivirus don't cause problem for you, you should add the Cygvin and build folder to the exclusion from your antivirus. So everything is safe here because it is built on your computer and the sources are checked. So everything is fine. Then I invoke LODE home /opt/bin/make. So that's it. Because I have built this before, I expect the compilation process to finish somehow fast, because there are not a lot of things to do, and it should finish in a short period of time. So let's wait and see. As you can see, some images are converted to zip here. This happens usually every time, so it's no problem. if your computer is fast enough, building things from scratch won't take more than 1 hour. But if you don't have a new computer with enough RAM, it may take, for example, half a day to build LibreOffice from sources. So be prepared for this amount of time if you don't have a decent computer. And it takes a lot of storage. So preparing, for example, as in here, at least 25 gigabytes is something that you should know, and you should have this amount of free space in order to successfully build LibreOffice. So there are a lot of modules that, as you can see, are built, and everything are built here. So it is finished, and now we can invoke instdir/program/soffice.exe, and I have forgotten. So instdir/program/soffice.exe is the LibreOffice that I've built, and you can see the output. So we're done, and we could be able to build LibreOffice. After that, we could do a lot of other things, changing in LibreOffice code. Easy hacks. What is an easy hack? It is a simple, straightforward task, and it can be also something other than program, but we are focused on programming. It can be solved by a limited effort from the newcomers. So newcomers can do that, can fix that problem, and this is because it is evaluated by the developers and code pointers are available. The instructions are somehow known, and it is considered a good starting point. If you want to see an easy hack, you should go to Bugzilla and see the bugs labeled with easy hack, and also there is a good categorization of these easy hack inside the wiki. So if you go to development/easy hacks page in the wiki, you will find the list of easy hacks categorized by difficulty, programming language, and others. So there are different complexity levels, and this is actually examined by some of the well-known experienced developers here. Beginner, medium, and interesting, that is somehow more difficult. Let's see an example or sample easy hack. The task is use pragma once instead of include guards. So this is with the difficulty level beginner, and the task is to find the headers that use include guards. As you know, in order to avoid duplicate inclusion of header files and putting one header multiple times inside a C++ file, there's something called include guards. If not def a symbol, it is defined, and in the end the end if comes. So this is something traditionally used in all the header files, but these days it is easy to use hashmark pragma once instead. So you should find instances of include guards. You can do that with git grep hashmark if not def start at hxx, and then you should remove the include guards, and you should fix the white space, and you should remove the duplicate new lines, and then add sharp pragma once instead. So this bug is actually inside Bugzilla with this address, as you can see here. But here the bug number is important, and it is referred in both the commit title and the commit message with TDF sharp 143148. So this is also something important. This is the actual easy hack that I was talking about, as can be seen inside the Bugzilla. So let's talk about Gerrit. So what is Gerrit? When you want to get your code merged into LibreOffice, it is necessary to submit your code to Gerrit in order to get reviewed. So you should set up your system for connecting to Gerrit. First, you should create keepers, and there is a good script inside LibreOffice code called hello-gerrit. So if you invoke /hello-gerrit setup, you will ask several questions, and then everything is set up for you. There are situations that the keeper is not created. So in such a situation, you should refer to the tutorial that I've put a link here. It helps you to create ED25519 SSH key that is a standard better than RSA for generating keys. Then you should add your public key to Gerrit, and after that you should test it. /hello-gerrit test. If that shows a success message, you can make sure that the setup was successful. So if that does not happen, you should think about ways to fix this, and you can ask me for help. Then you should create a commit using git commit, and after that you should submit your changes by invoking /hello-gerrit submit master. So you should submit your changes to Grid in order to get reviewed. Then you should search for a reviewer, and you can add me as a reviewer, or you can find other mentors and developers and add them. And if you look carefully to Gerrit, you can find some of those who do reviews. Then you will get several review comments, and you should do all these steps until you get +1, or better than that, +2. So first of all, whenever you upload some changes called the patch set to Gerrit, the continuous integration tools here, Jenkins, starts building LibreOffice with your changes for all the available platforms, from Windows to Linux to macOS to Android and other known platforms. So if everything was fine, and if the build process on all the platforms was okay, you will get verified from the Jenkins. If some problems were reported by Jenkins, you should fix them. And after that, you will get suggestions or possibly corrections and comments from the reviews. You should respond to the comments by fixing the suggestions and doing the corrections asked from you. For example, if you're asked to change a variable name, or do the things using other method, you should do that in order to get your code merged. Sometimes the change is simply removing some extra white space, but sometimes it can be more complex. And whenever you're fixing the problem, you should do git commit -- amend and submit the changes again using elogrit submit master /elogrit. And in this way, you will upload the next patch set. So patch set 1, patch set 2, patch set 3, and it goes like that. And after the reviewer or reviewers accept your changes, one of the reviewers will give you +2, and after that he will get your code merged. Please note that if you're submitting code to LibreOffice for the first time, you have to send a license statement to the developer mailing list. So make sure that you read the license statement suggested in the wiki, and also you should add your name to the list of developers inside wiki. So these are the things that you should do before your first submission can get merged. This is a screenshot from Gerrit with some of the submissions from several people, and as you can see, some of these submissions are waiting for someone to to be added as a reviewer. One of the submissions with the red cross mark is something that had problems with building the code, but others have passed the continuous integration, the Jenkins build, and also the tests that are accompanied with the build process. Some of them may also wait for the build process to finish. So let's see all this in action. In order to be able to submit patches to Gerrit, you should set up your public-private key inside Linux or Cygvin. So let's do it. You should use the utility Gerrit. It has an option setup, and it says you should press enter, and in this way a public-private key is generated. I give a password, and I should enter the password again. It says they doesn't match. If they doesn't match, you have to make sure that you enter this correctly. So this is the key that is generated. You shouldn't share it with everyone. You shouldn't share it with no one. And this is asking for my username. I enter saying outside libreoffice.org, and I'm done. If I run elogrit test, I will see that the signature of the Gerrit is shown to me, and it says it's not okay because I have not added my public key to the Gerrit. So let's see what's my public key / id underline rsa.pub. So yes, this is the key, and I can copy that. The only difference is that I should change my username to something more appropriate. This is my email, so I'm copying this, copy, and then I go to the Gerrit. I've logged in before, so you need an account here. You should create an account in the single sign-on for Document Foundation. So I'm going to the SSH key, and I add my SSH key here, and I click add. So I'm done, and after that I can see the SSH keys here. After that I run allocate test. Yes, this seems to be in trouble, so I can check. So the username is wrong actually. So let's fix the configuration. My username is the same. So now the settings should be correct. I should provide the password, and yes, the Gerrit setup was successful. Now I can make some changes and submit those changes after I provide some commit. So if I do commit, then I can send it by that /allocate submit master. But because I have not done this, I skip this step. So let's go back to Gerrit, and these are the open changes. Let's look at some of the changes that have been accepted before. For example, the one that we were talking about, like the include guard. As you can see, a lot of people have done this, and it is TDF. Alright, let's search again. As you can see, a lot of people have done this, and for example, let's look at one of them and see the things that happened inside the patches. So it has a title. It says use pragma once instead of include guards, and some description. And this is essentially changing multiple files, but you don't have to change multiple files. Changing only one file is enough. So as you can see, the include guard is removed, and the pragma once is placed instead of it. So at first you see the patch set 1, then Jenkins is added automatically, and I've added by the author as a reviewer, and I provided some comments. For example, I asked the author to remove some lines, and he just removed that. And after that, there are some situations that will fail, but you should try continuing by rebasing or asking someone to rebuild. And after a while, we came to a position that I've put a +1, and I've written looks good to me. And after that, Ilmari, which is one of our mentors came in and asked for the license statement, and the license statement was actually posted by the author to the mailing list, and after everything was fine, the code review +2 shows that everything is okay. So after that, the patch is actually merged into LibreOffice code. This is essentially what you should do. You should respond to comments, you should fix the problems, and you should get both the +1 from either a person or Jenkins for getting verified, and also +2 from a code reviewer who has commit access. So if you can do that, then you're one of the developers of LibreOffice. You should add your name here. This is the license statement. All of my past and future contributions to LibreOffice may be licensed under the MPL v2 LGPL v3 plus dual license. This is essentially something that you should send to the developer mailing list, and this is the list of contributors. So individuals and companies. So you should add your name here if you've contributed to LibreOffice, and you should put your license statement here, and this is something that you should do, and you should put your name somewhere here, and you should do this according to your family name, and you should note that this list is sorted. A path to growth in development. These are the things I suggest you to do. First, you should understand C++, and if you're working with other languages, you should have a good understanding of the language you're developing with. Then, you should understand Git and Gert. So I assume that you know, and you want to go to the next step. Then you should be able to build LibreOffice. So I have talked extensively on building LibreOffice today. So I hope that you don't have any problem, but if you have, you can contact me. Then you should do your first easy hack. You should fix the things in the easy hack you've chosen, and I think a good place to start is an easy hack with the difficulty beginner. Then you submit it, and you go through all these things, responding to the reviewers and doing fixes as they're suggesting to get your code merged. I suggest that you do at least 10 bug triages before going to the next step, because we think that a developer should understand how bug reporting and bug management work, and this is something that I think you should do before going to the next step. The next step would be doing at least 5 easy hacks with difficulty beginner. After that, you can work on regressions. So what are regressions? Regressions are special kinds of bugs that happen when something was correct before and it was working, but in the newer version, by changing stuff in various parts of the code, the problem showed up and it was not there before. So this is called a regression, and with a trick called bisecting, and here by bisecting you can find the commit that actually created the problem, and in this way it is somehow easier for the developers to fix these kinds of bugs. So it is suggested that you should do at least 5 regressions. Then you should write at least 10 unit tests. So unit testing is something very important in order to make sure that if some bug is fixed, it doesn't happen in the future. And if someone changes the code and creates the problem again, the make check won't pass, and that person cannot add his code to the LibreOffice unless he or she can fix the problem. So then it is suggested that you do at least 5 easy hacks with the difficulty medium, and after that I think you can become someone who understands more about LibreOffice, and then you can read some more complicated documents about LibreOffice, and you can go in the path to become a developer with the ability to fix the bugs and add the features and stuff like that. These are the recommended readings. I suggest you to take a look at comprehensive list of learning materials that are inside wiki, inside development/learning materials. There are a lot of articles and books and references, and also examples and conference presentations in video and PDF slides. All of this can be found inside this page. It's a long list of many learning materials that can be helpful for you. Then the LibreOffice API documentation is something very useful for those who want to work with LibreOffice SDK. And at last, a list of development tools are available via api.libreoffice.org/docs/tools.html. Thank you very much. That's it. I hope that you have enjoyed the presentation. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer. Thank you very much.
So great. Thank you very much, Hossein. That was a really interesting and fascinating talk, even for me, not being very techy, but I listened with a lot of interest. So I had a look into the channels, the different channels, to see if there's any questions around. So it might be, just let me have a look. Yeah, as the title of your talk, it's is it easy hacks? So what is it really easy to hack what you proposed here?
In fact, some of these easy hacks are really easy. They're categorized as the easy hack with difficulty level beginner. For example, the simplest of these easy hacks for C++ is, for example, removing 2 lines of code and adding 1 new line of code. So this is pretty simple, but in order to be able to change that, you have to do a lot of things that I've talked about in this presentation. For example, you have to build the LibreOffice code, you have to set up your Gerrit account, you have to commit your changes and submit it to Gerrit and ask people to review that. So this is actually something that is designed to help people getting started. But after that, there are easy hacks with difficulty level, for example, medium, or somehow more difficult, and is categorized as difficulty level interesting. So there are some very easy hacks that we categorize them as difficulty beginner, but there are some more difficult easy hacks, but all of them are reviewed by the developers, so the path is known. It is known that when someone wants to do that, either fix a bug or implement a feature, most of the details are known, and it is usually somehow straightforward. So because of this, it is suggested that one should start from these easy hacks and then go to some things that are more difficult.
Okay, so I think it's very important to know C++, if I'm right, or is it a language easy to learn, or how difficult do you choose this language to get it?
So C++, in fact, is not an easy language, but there's no problem if someone doesn't know C++, but Java, SQL, or other languages that are used inside LibreOffice. So there's a good categorization of the easy hacks, and anyone can, I think many people that know something from programming can find some interesting things that they can do. And it is not only C++, but Java, but C++, Python, and many other languages. So I think the development for LibreOffice is not confined to C++, but in fact, C++ is the main language used in LibreOffice development. So I think it is very important for someone who wants to get more involved in the development.
Okay, I see. So from on the chat, I saw a question from another person speaking about there should be a recommendation about, I think it was on Cygvin, if I'm right, Cygvin on Windows. Is there an issue with that? I didn't understand what's behind that, but I want to take this from the chat to propose this question to you, or to elaborate more that you did in your talk.
In fact, you can choose your platform for development yourself, because LibreOffice is a cross-platform application, and the development is also happening on various different platforms. For example, some of the developers use Windows, some of them use Linux, and Windows, Linux, or Mac OS is not much different. But some people say that Linux is a developer-friendly platform.
Yeah.
I agree with them. Maybe some people prefer Windows, but users are usually happy in Windows. But platforms are different for different people. So as a developer, I usually prefer Linux because it is easier to install libraries. I can install several libraries with just a single command, and that is very important for me. And it is also consists of mostly free software. So I prefer to develop on Linux, and I think Ubuntu Linux is something very easy for developers to work with. So I prefer Linux, and on Windows, you have to set up a lot of things. And luckily, we have LODE that automates a lot of things. But I prefer Linux, and I suggest that anyone who wants to work on LibreOffice at least try Ubuntu. And there are a lot of things there. A great compiler, G++, some good IDEs like, for example, Qt Creator, or even an IDE from Microsoft. Visual Studio Code is available in Linux and other platforms. So there are a lot of good utilities for the developers there. And I think those who try this platform would appreciate these great tools.
Yeah, I noticed that you didn't mention Mac. You spoke about Linux, you spoke about Windows. Is there more difficulties with Mac, or what's the issue with that?
I myself, I'm not a Mac user. Because of that, I cannot say anything about that. But I think Mac is also something great, and I see that. Yes, Michael Mix said Fedora is also great. Yes,
I see, yeah.
I think yes, Fedora is great. I think that Red Hat distributions are something very good in enterprise, and Red Hat Enterprise Linux and its variants are, I think, they are very robust and stable when someone wants to use them in enterprise area, and I think they're something that one can recommend.
Okay, so I understood that you were on Linux. What distribution do you use for this?
I use Ubuntu, and I think it's very easy. And I think the package manager is something that for Ubuntu and Debian is something that is very nice, and I'm very happy with that.
Okay, so thank you very much, Hossein, for this interesting talk. For me especially, it was very interesting to get in touch with this area. And so now we have only some seconds to get into the next talk. Thanks again, Hossein. Thanks for your talk.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure for me.
So now I will prepare the next talk coming up from Cisco, if I'm right. So just a second to get the talk. Are you around, Cisco, in the call?
Yes, I'm here.
Can you hear me? Okay. So 5 p.m. Berlin time at the LibreOffice Conference 2021, starting with the talk of Cisco Foley. So where could I find the share video? I don't know at this moment.
The 3 dots.
Yeah, I got the 3 dots, but perhaps I have to first share. Okay, I have to stop the video from Hossein and then share this.
Hi everyone, this is Cisco Fauli, and today I'm going to talk about how to write your first test for LibreOffice. I hope everyone is safe and doing okay, and yeah, let's get started. So a little bit about me. I've been working for the Document Foundation for the last 4 years as a QA engineer, and I find unit tests are really important and a crucial part of the project, and yeah, of any project in general. So yeah, the motivation for this talk, I extracted this from a talk Kohei gave in a conference. So Kohei was a Calc developer, and he was talking about a refactor he did in Calc, and then he ended the talk saying that, well, yeah, a bug fix without a unit test will get broken again in the future, and then a bug fix with a unit test will remain fixed forever. So the question is, which one would you choose? And the answer it's obvious. We should always go for writing a unit test when possible. So yeah, regarding this talk, I'm going to talk about 2 main topics. The first one is how to write your unit test in Python, which are mainly used for testing the UI, and how to write your test in CPP unit test, which are, and I'm going to explain it how to use it for testing the import and export of different formats, how to use assert XPath for testing XML, and then how to test the layout of a document. So yeah, the prerequisites for someone who is interested in writing a first unit test. Well, obviously you need the LibreOffice source code, download it in your computer. Then you also need some knowledge in Python and C++. Some like basic knowledge should be enough. And the same goes for Git. Yeah, we use Git as a version control. So yeah, then you need some basic knowledge to get along. And yeah, you also need an account in Gerrit, which is the platform we use to review patches. So if you write your unit test, then you submit it to Gerrit and someone else will review it. And last but not least, you need desire to learn. And I can tell you that if you write unit tests, you're gonna learn a lot. Yeah, and a disclaimer about this talk, I'm going to focus mainly on writer test, although if you want to write unit tests for other modules like Calc or Impress, the same principles apply. It shouldn't be much different, but yeah, this talk is about writer mainly. So let's start with Python UI testing. So some information about it. It was written or implemented by Markus Mohan 4 or 5 years ago, and it inherits from the unit-test.testcase framework, which is the one and the standard in Python. So anything that you use in that framework, you can use it in the UI testing framework. So let's say any assert you have it in that framework, you can use it in the UI testing framework. And as the name says, well, it's mainly used for testing the UI. At the moment, we have 600 existing tests, and in Writer they are under SWQA UI test. So let me show you. So I have my LibreOffice source built here. So in in QA we have everything related to QA, and then in this in the child directory UI test we have everything related to UI testing. And the same goes if you, instead of SW, which is writer, you change it to SC, which is Calc, you have the same, and the same for Impress. There are not many, but yeah. So one disadvantage of the Python UI testing is that they run slower than CPP unit tests. So when possible, it's always desirable to use CPP unit tests. And another disadvantage is that it only runs on Linux. So if you want to, or either if you work on Windows, or if you want to implement a test for a bug that is only happening on Windows, a UI bug, then you cannot do it. Yeah. And then if you have, or if you want more information, more detailed information about UI test, everything is in this URL. So yeah, let's write our first UI test. Let me check if, yeah, everything is recording, and the time 5 minutes. Okay, fine. So first of all, I'm going to write a unit test, a UI test for you, and I'm gonna show you how to do it from scratch. So before we write anything, we are going to call or execute LibreOffice with this variable here, which is going to allow us to record everything we do in the UI. So basically what we are saying is that, okay, I want to collect all the UI information in this document. So let me show you real quick. So now I'm executing LibreOffice with that variable. I close the navigator. So let's say I want to insert a table, and now I change something here. So I click on this text box, and then I say Control A, I delete this, and I use a new name, which is my table, and then I insert it, and I have a table here. So finally I close LibreOffice, and now I have everything locked here. So let me copy this. So yeah, basically, what we are doing. So I close the navigator here, so we are not going to use this. So basically, what I did was to insert a table, then a document open, a dialog open. Then I type in the element name edit. I type Control A, then backspace, and then I wrote my table. Finally, I click on OK in the insert table dialog, and then I created a table, and yeah, I close LibreOffice. So once we have this log, we can translate this into code, into Python code. And for that, I already have this test created because I don't have much time for this talk. So I'm gonna explain you every step, and yeah, you're gonna see it's really simple. So basically, I have a class which I can name it with any name I want. I call it FOSDEM, and then it inherits from UI test case. And then I have the function which must start with test underscore and then the name of the function. So in this case, I call it insert table, but I could call whatever I want. And yeah, then we start the test by creating a doc in Start Center. So in this case, we are creating a writer doc, but I could also say instead of writer, I can call it calc or impress or whatever. So yeah, we already have a writer document created, and now what we are going to do is to execute a dialog through command, which is the insert table, which is this one here. So we execute that uno command, and we open the dialog. And once we open the dialog, we use this function to get the top focus windows, which is at the moment the insert table, and we put it in this variable, which is xDialog. Now, what's next? We use Control A, and then backspace, and then we write my table. So for that, I get the element, which is name edit. So I can say, okay, xDialog, get child, name edit. I put it in this variable, and then I execute the action, which is type. We see it here, type, and then key code, Control A, backspace, my table. So at this point, we already have, we change the text box, which was first it was table 1, and we changed it to my table. So once we're done with that, we click on the OK element, and finally we close the dialog with this element. So now we are back to the document, so we can get the document and analyze it. So we use this get component to get the document, and finally we can assert that the document has indeed one table, which is here, and then we can assert the table, the first table, the name of it, it's my table. So let me execute this this test, and for that we have this little script which you can find here in this URL. So basically you just have to tweak it a little bit to point to your own LibreOffice build. So, and then change the file parameter. So in this case, the name of my test is test1. So if we execute this one, we can see that now it launches LibreOffice, it opens right there, it opens the dialog, and then it change the name, and then it inserts the table. That's really quick. So for that, we can use some time slip. For instance, we open the dialog here, then we change the name of the table, and finally we insert it in the document. So now if we execute it again, now it pauses a little bit, it changed the name now, we insert the table, and finally it closes LibreOffice. So that's how UI tests are written. It's pretty straightforward, and we can, for instance, once we open the dialog, we can say, okay, print, which is here, some useful prints when working with UI test. So for instance, if I want to see the children of the dialog, I can use xdialog get children. So if I execute it again, yeah, it's time. Oh yeah, here. But yeah, I see all these elements in the dialog. So we have, for instance, the OK button, help button, the warning, name edit. So these are all the elements in the dialog. So then we can use, if we want to change, for instance, the name, the number of rows, we can use this one here. So yeah, you just need to check which one you need to use and use that one. So another interesting print that we can use, it's so once we have the child, we can use get state as dictionary, its name edit. So now we can see all the states of an element. So here, this is the name edit element. So for instance, we see the ID, but then we see that it's visible. We see the text of it, which is the property text, which is table 1. At the moment, nothing is selected. So yeah, for instance, we can use it like in here. Before we change the name and we change the text box and we write anything, we can assert that by default the text is table 1. And finally, another interesting print is to use dir in a document and dir text tables. Let's get the first one. So if I execute again, now we see that a lot of information. So we have all these properties in a document, so we can get the auto styles or word count or whatever we want to get, text frames, text fields. We can use it to get anything in a document. And here we see the properties of a table, so anchor, text wrap, whatever we want to use. So this is the way which we check the properties of a document while we are writing UI test. So yeah, 17 minutes. So yeah, let's move on. Now we are going to see how to write a CPP unit test. So in Writer they are under this folder, and yeah, we, for instance, for ODT we use it SWQA extras, ODF import, and yeah, the layout. So it's very, once you are in SWQA extras, you can see by the name of the folder what the test in those folders are about. At the moment we have around 3,000 existing tests. You have a lot of detailed information in the README and also in this URL. So the way, because for the UI test you can run the test and visualize what's going on. And here you can't. So you have to, well, you can use the make of the module. So for instance, if you are writing a test in OOXML export 16, then you can use this command here, or and this will run all the tests in that module. And then if you want to run a particular test, you can use indicate the name of the test, like this one here, and then the name of the module. So yeah, for import and export, we have three kind of CPP unit tests. We have the import test that load the specific file to a MX component, which represents the UNO model of the document. Then we have the export test, which basically do the same as the import test, but they first import the document, then they export the document, and then they re-import the document again. And finally we have the export only test, which only export the document. Yeah, so let me show you real quick how to write CPP unit test for import and export. So let's say I have a new document and I want to test, for instance, that when we export this document to, let's say, docx, the text is still FOSDEM. So I have this FOSDEM ODT, and for instance I can insert an image. So now I want to write it. This is going to, I'm going to test that it's an export test. So I'm going to extras and I'm exporting this to docx. So OOXML export, and then here we have all the modules too. So I'm going to use export 16, which is the last one. So I can copy this one, for instance, paste it here, and now I say the name of the test is going to be FOSDEM, and then the name of the document is FOSDEM ODT. So I want to check that there is one shape in the document, for instance. So I can say get shapes, the number of shapes is 1, and I want to test that the first paragraph is FOSDEM. So for that I can, and the pages, for example, one page, there is one page in the document, and also the first paragraph it's FOSDEM. So for that I can say it's FOSDEM, and here I get paragraph 1 and then get a string. I delete this, and now I'm going to execute this. Test FOSDEM. So let's change it so it's going to fail. I hope it works. 23 minutes. And it takes a while, and yeah, now it's my computer is not super fast, so yeah, and it fails because 43. Oh yeah, the document I created, I didn't put it extras XML export data, and it's called FOSDEM. So now if I execute it again, sorry, I had a previous document without an image, that's why it's failing here. So it's expecting one shape or one image, and it didn't work because there are 0 in my previous document. If I execute it again, now, yeah, it says it's expecting FOSDEM. It's expecting X FOSDEM, and the paragraph is FOSDEM. So I should, if I change this here, then it should pass. But yeah, let's move on because I have 5 minutes left or less. And yeah, for the assert X path, so here we are using CPP unit assert equal. If I assert X path, okay, let me show you another assert X. So here what we are doing, it's okay, I'm importing this document, then I exporting it. So in this case I am exporting only, so this is an only export test, and then I parse the export, I put it in this variable, and then I parse the variable, and this is how the XML looks like, and this is what I'm asserting. So how to get this? So one way of doing that, so let's say I have a document, so I'm gonna use this one, FOSDEM, and now I change this, and I say, let's change the answer. Whatever. I change it to FOSDEM with bold letters, and I change it to FOSDEM2 ODT. So now I can use one tool. You have some of the tools to analyzing the documents here. So one of them is ODiff. So this tool allows me to diff the two documents. So I'm going to test the first document without the bold letters and the second with the bold letters. So yeah, this is information about the generator, and here yeah, there is one image and another that is not there, another document without an image. But yeah, with that, I see here, for instance, that in one document we have this is a text style, we have forced them, and in the other one we don't have it, and we don't have the image. So then we can use this XML to parse, which is an answer that, for instance, the document is there. So this is one way to use XML parsing. And finally, if we want to so if we want to test the layout, we have this. So okay, now I have this document here, which I can open, and now I have the layout as an XML document. And yeah, that's 30 minutes. And then you can also assert XPath the document. So some useful information. If you want to write your first test today, you can have it. You have a list of missing Python UI tests here, and the same for the CPP unit test here. And thank you for watching, and hope you write your first unit test. You're not going to regret. Bye bye.
So thank you very much, Cisco, for this interesting call too. It was a pleasure to listen to your talk. Just one question I'm interested in is, it was a talk about 30 minutes. How many time does it really last to take to get one test as you proposed?
Well, it depends.
Okay, it's for you or me, I understand.
Yeah, sometimes it takes a lot of time. But yeah, in the presentation I saw a couple of simple examples.
So is there an average time you can say you have to spend? I don't know, some more hours. Sure, it's depending on the test, on the volume, on the. Sure.
Yeah. First of all, you need to understand what the problem is and try to understand the fix, and yeah. So yeah, it might take a bit of time, but yeah, it depends.
Okay. How many testing did you already create?
Oh, I don't know.
Okay.
A lot, I think. Yeah.
Okay. So is there any other question from the audience so far? I check on the channels. Yeah, but I don't think, no, I can't find anyone. So anything from you, Cisco, from your side to add?
Just say thank you to you for moderating this talk, and thanks to everyone watching the talk.
Thanks.
And if they have any question, they can find me in IRC or email.
Yeah, that's the usual channels. You can find all the speakers via IRC, email, or on the metrics channels. So go on if you have any questions to submit these questions to the speakers. Thanks for that. So we are arriving at the end of this room 2 day. this afternoon. It was a pleasure to moderate this afternoon with all you, with the audience. Thanks to you all for participating and to join this room and join LibreOffice Conference 2021 for today. Thanks and goodbye, and hope to see you tomorrow and the next days on the LibreOffice Conference. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye. See you tomorrow.